Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Hospitalization prevents Trinidad's fired public administration minister from making a court appearance on fraud charges. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline from Monday, August 12th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Dismissed Minister of Public Administration Marlene McDonald has been slapped with charges related to defrauding the government and money laundering, but she did not appear in court to answer them as expected after falling ill and being admitted to hospital. McDonald was scheduled to appear in court on Monday after the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions gave instructions for her and the 4 others to be charged with several offenses of conspiracy to defraud. McDonald also faces additional charges of misbehavior in public office. The others charged are her common-law husband, Michael Carew, along with Victor McCochrane, Wayne Anthony, and Edgar Zephyrin. All the charges stem from offenses allegedly committed over the 2008 to 2009 period. McDonald, who has now been fired 3 times from the cabinet, was detained along with her husband last Thursday after a search warrant was executed at their home. The other 3 accused were arrested over the weekend. McDonald's attorney, senior counsel Pamela Elder, reported that her client had been warded at the Sinclair Medical Center after complaining of being unwell. She criticized police for keeping her client in custody for an extended period before charging her and taking her to court.
The reason given by the police officers was that they had not been able to process the other accused, and therefore, although she had been charged, she was forced to remain in police custody. And when one considers how long she has been in custody, it is not surprising that she has ended up here this morning. I will do whatever is necessary because what has happened here should never have happened. From the inception of her arrest, she was told that there were reasonable grounds to suspect that she had committed certain offenses. So if the police has reasonable grounds to suspect, then why wait so long to charge? And if after charging, why not ensure that the person is released and attend the court this morning?
McDonald was fired from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's cabinet in 2016 when she was housing minister after questions arose over her alleged recommendation of public housing for her common-law husband. She returned to the cabinet a year later as minister in the Ministry of Public Utilities, but less than 48 hours after she was fired again on the heels of a controversy caused by the presence of a reputed community leader at her swearing-in ceremony. Well, Prime Minister Dr. Rowley on a Monday morning said he had asked President Pauline Weeks to relieve McDonald again of her ministerial portfolio after being informed that the DPP had given instructions to charge her. And on Monday morning, he named Attorney-at-Law Senator Garvin Simonet as her replacement and said his swearing-in ceremony was scheduled for Monday afternoon. But that event did not materialize either. A statement from the Office of the Prime Minister said the announced swearing-in of Senator Simonet to the position was cancelled in light of new information, but it gave no details of what that new information was. As a result, Prime Minister Rowley will take on the responsibilities of the Public Administration Ministry. Meanwhile, the ruling People's National Movement, PNM, of which McDonald is deputy political leader, issued a statement on Monday saying that it was saddened by the turn of events, noting that it was thankful for the service McDonald had provided for the past 12 years. The party said it has long stood on the side of the law and particularly under the stewardship of Dr. Rowley. It added that in that regard, and mindful that the matter is now before the courts, it reaffirmed its commitment to the independence of the major stakeholders in this ongoing situation. The PNM also stressed that the matters for which McDonald and the other 3 were charged allegedly occurred many years before Prime Prime Minister Rowley first appointed her to the cabinet in 2015, and for which MacDonald had twice been exonerated by the Integrity Commission. Meantime, former Port of Spain Mayor Louis Lee Singh has suggested that many more public officials should be worried about whether they will find themselves in a similar position as MacDonald.
We have opened the Pandora box, and it means that all public officials, all, not necessarily politicians, which represent the elected body, but the appointed body, those people who sit as permanent secretaries and heads of departments and chief executive officers of state enterprises and what have you. All such groupings must come to realize that they are given a trust, which is to say, you are responsible to look after the affairs of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. What has happened to this in this last 24 hours will suggest to me that it might well be the start of a number of inquiries coming to a head.
In other news, crime in Jamaica, 816 murders have been recorded in the island so far this year. Figures from the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the GCF, show 13 more people were killed for the corresponding period January 1st to August 10th last year. 11 of the 19 police divisions have reported increases. In the St. Andrew South Police Division, where a state of emergency is in effect, more than 100 murders have been recorded. The figures show a noticeable slowdown in the killings in the division, which had seen 93 murders up to June 29th and only 6 since the state of emergency was imposed on July 7th. The JCF is also reporting that shootings increased by 11%, with 800 reported since the start of the year. In 2018, Jamaica recorded a total of 1,287 murders, a 22% decline from the 1,641 recorded the previous year. Meanwhile, opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips has reiterated an interest in holding a crime summit with the government. He charged that the government does not have a plan to tackle crime.
And after 7 states of emergency over the past 2 years, murder continued to climb and violent crimes continue to climb. And although the government don't have a plan that the country can line up behind.
The Jamaica government has confirmed that one of its nationals was killed in a car bomb attack in the Libyan city of Benghazi over the weekend. Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith identified the Jamaican as Clive Peck, who was killed along with 2 of his UN colleagues in an attack in front of a shopping mall in the war-torn North African nation on Saturday. Peck is a former member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. In a tweet, Minister Johnson-Smith conveyed the government's condolences to Peck's family and to the UN family, which she said is now mourning the loss of 3 dedicated members. Trade between Cayman Islands and Jamaica is set to get a boost. Premier Alden McLaughlin says talks are underway to resume the importation of livestock from its Caribbean neighbor. Last week, the Premier was in Jamaica on an official visit. He and Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness explored ways to strengthen the relationship between the countries, including increasing trade.
We import about $13 million worth of produce and product from Jamaica every year. And we believe there is scope for a significant increase in that, which will afford the people in Cayman greater access to many of the foodstuffs that we like, which tend to be fresher because of the proximity.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, the St. Lucia government is resisting an online booking platform's attempts to get a cut of the service charge paid to hospitality workers all across the Caribbean. We get the details of that story after the break. Stay with us.
opening ceremony of CaribFesta 14 will be aired live on Friday, August 16 from 6:45 p.m. View the wondrous beauty and majesty of the Caribbean's premier arts and cultural festival. The best of Caribbean culture on full display at the Queen's Park Savannah Port of Spain, Friday 16th August at 6:45 p.m.
CaribFesta 14 Trinidad and Tobago.
When you think of what we went through with Hurricane Irma, you had to be able to recognize what are the things we need to do to cope with the aftermath. The psychological trauma, to me, is probably the most telling on a lot of people.
Preparedness is the key. So when people are prepared, when people have what their resources in terms of how they can cope with the disaster, they're better able to be able to return to their normal life. They're better able to make decisions that are informed for themselves and for their family, and then for their community. Be ready. Look, listen, and link.
Welcome back. The St. Lucia government is strongly opposing demands by online travel agency Bookings.com for a portion of the service charge paid to hospitality workers. The Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, the CHTA, had already rejected the requested commission, describing it as grossly unfair and regressive. The CHTA said that an overwhelming majority of Caribbean hotels are reconsidering using Booking.com as a result of the new commission policy that they claim is aimed at generating additional revenue for the online giant at the expense of consumers, the region's destinations, hotels, and employees. And St. Lucia's government says it will not support the request. We get more in this HDS News Force report.
That 15% commission on employee service charge. But Minister of Tourism and Chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Association, Dominic Fede, says he will stand firm in opposition to this.
Well, it's unconscionable that anyone would try to have a commission on employee service charge. I think that those figures should be going to the employees.
The minister says he thinks the request is unreasonable and unethical.
Not only is it inhumane, but I think it goes against the very good practice of business ethics. And I believe that it is something that needs to be reviewed as quickly as possible.
Fede says he will not support the request by Booking.com. As a matter of fact, he seeks to champion the cause. He says he will do all in his power to oppose the booking agency.
And I would want to call on Booking.com to do its best to review that policy. I'm going to be using my position as the chairman of CTO. We will be writing to Booking.com to support private sector partners. I know the CHTA has already written to them, and I hope that this gets changed because we have to ensure that we do everything to protect the rights and to protect the well-being of the employees of the industry.
Tourism Minister Dominic Fede says he plans to use resources at his disposal to challenge the request by Booking.com on behalf of the workers.
Irish-based exploration company Tullow Oil Monday said it had discovered high-quality oil-bearing sandstone reservoirs after drilling the Jethro-1 exploration well in the Orinduik block offshore Guyana. The company's chief executive officer, Paul McDade, says the discovery is the outcome of significant technical and commercial focus, which have underpinned the reset of their exploration portfolio. The company said it would now evaluate the data from the Jethro discovery and determine appropriate appraisal activity. A new neonatal testing project for sickle cell disease is announced for Antigua and Grenada, and health officials continue efforts to prevent an outbreak of dengue. Michael Williams has the details in this week's Newsline Health.
Babies in Antigua and Barbuda and Grenada are said to benefit from a project designed to test newborns for sickle cell disease. The OECS Secretariat said recently that neonatal testing of sickle cell disease forms part of the Interreg Cares project, which seeks to facilitate stronger ties between the Eastern Caribbean and the French associate members of the OECS. Health officials in the Bahamas are continuing efforts to prevent an outbreak of dengue fever. There were 2 reported cases in New Providence earlier this month. Nassau is also monitoring developments in Florida, where more than 75 cases have been reported this year.
We have not had many cases of vector-borne or mosquito-borne illnesses in the Bahamas, unlike other places in the Caribbean where they've had a serious problem with chikungunya, dengue. We've been quite fortunate. I believe that our activity has borne fruit. I think it's very important to understand that it's not only the activity of the agencies that do fogging and larvae killing maneuvers. It is also important for people to inspect their premises to make sure that there's no receptacles of standing water, to get rid of paint cans and old tires and so on and so forth.
And what are the symptoms of dengue? Dr. Carl Jones of the Matron Roberts Polyclinic in Belize explains.
You have the febrile phase, which is characterized by the fever and all the symptoms, all the breakbone fever symptoms that we know. The headache, the backache, the joint pains, the fever, the rash, and so on. That usually lasts somewhere around 3 days. The following 3 days of illness, roughly, is what we call the critical phase. And that's the phase when people may get certain complications of dengue. That's when there are signs that have to be looked out for, which are the warning signs. And those are things like repetitive vomiting, intense abdominal pain, bleeding from the gums in the urine, vaginal bleeding. People may become what we call lethargic, so they will get dizzy and be on the verge of losing consciousness.
Dr. Jones says residents should continue to take every precaution against the disease. Mary-Claire Williams, Newsline Health.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, Chris Gill records a milestone even as West Indies taste defeat yet again. The details after the break.
For the first time in the history of our nation, the archipelago of San Andres, Providence, and St. Helena will host the General Assembly of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union, of which Colombia is member through our regional channel Teleislas. And the theme for this year is Caribbean Media, uniting the region through native content. You will be able to see every part of it through our original channel Teleislas, our Facebook page, webpage, and our official app. The General Assembly of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union will take place from August 12th to the 14th. The celebration will have an opening ceremony that will air Monday 12th at 7 p.m. And on Tuesday, August 13th, we will broadcast the red carpet from 6 in the evening, and at 7, the Caribbean Broadcasting Awards.
It's time for sports now. Veteran opener Chris Gayle broke Brian Lara's record for the most runs by a West Indies batsman in one-day internationals, but the Caribbean side's brittle batting overshadowed that achievement as the hosts crashed to a 59-run defeat under Duckworth Lewis Stern in the second ODI against India on Sunday. India captain Virat Kohli struck his 42nd ODI 100 to become his country's second highest run scorer in that format as the visitors reached 279 for 7 off their 50 overs after choosing to bat first. Chasing a revised target of 270 off 46 overs following a rain break 13 overs into their runs chase at Queen's Park Oval, West Indies were toppled for 210 with 4 overs remaining to fall behind 1-0 in the 3-match series. Gayle struggled with momentum but passed Lara's mark of 10,405 runs when he took a single at the start of the 9th over. West Indies appeared well en route to victory at 148 for 3 in the 28th over, but collapsed and lost their last 7 wickets for 62 runs in quick time. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar led India's attack with 4 for 31, while fellow new ball seamer Mohammad Shami claimed 2 for 39 and left-arm spinner Kuldeep Yadav 2 for 59. Recovering West Indies all-rounder Andre Russell snatched a 4-wicket haul and narrowly missed out on a half-century before facing and then bowling a nerve-jangling super over as the Winnipeg Hawks edged his Vancouver Knights in a dramatic Global T20 Canada final on Sunday. Opting out of the recent T20 series against India after a flare-up of his chronic left knee injury, the 31-year-old Jamaican showed little sign of discomfort in a Herculean performance which nearly got Knights over the line. Sending down his medium pace, he claimed 4 for 29 from his complement of 4 overs as Hawks, sent in at the CAA Centre, reached 192 for 8 off their 20 overs. In reply, Knights got a top score of 53 from captain Shoaib Malik, while Russell blasted a sensational unbeaten 46 off just 20 balls to propel the Knights. With the game tied, Russell hit a 6 off the first ball from Sana as Knights tallied 9 runs but then failed to defend the total with the ball in hand. Switching sports now, the Cayman Islands Football Association, FIFA, is set to get full funding from World Football governing body FIFA once again. This was confirmed by FIFA boss President Gianni Infantino, who says the football body's compliance committee will lift sanctions that were imposed 3 years ago after charges of corruption were leveled against former top executives at the association. Cayman 27's Jordan Armanese reports.
Charges against former President Jeffrey Webb. Mr. Infantino said although the decision does not solely fall on him to decide whether FIFA will get their funding back, he is happy with the direction of football in the country.
Well, it's not my decision. It's a decision of the Audit and Compliance Committee that is gathering the next couple of weeks. And as it looks like, the situation is very positive. There are still some checks going on, of course, but it looks very positive.
Now, after FIFA presented Mr. Infantino and his delegation with their plans of building football in the country, as well as past projects, Infantino said he is confident in FIFA's current administration in spite of the arrest of former, now suspended, first Vice President Bruce Blake on corruption charges yesterday.
I don't know enough about what happened yesterday, about the charges or the investigation or what have you. What I can say is what I said even at my Congress several times. I mean, we have full trust in the authorities as well when they do their work.
Going over to the Pan Am Games, Grenadian Anderson Peters broke an 8-year-old record as he captured his country's first ever gold at the Pan Am Games by winning the men's javelin on the final day of track and field action on Saturday. The 21-year-old measured 87.31 meters to reset Cuban Guillermo Martinez old mark of 87.2 established at the Guadalajara Games. A second-year student at Mississippi State in the United States, Peters threw his winning mark on his first attempt before following up with impressive throws of 81.78 meters, 78.92 meters, 85.9 meters, and 81.21 meters. Trinidadian Kishorn Walker, the 2012 Olympic champion and Pan Am title holder, finished second with a throw of 83.55 meters, while St. Lucian Albert Reynolds clinched bronze with a personal best 82.19 meters. The gold was one of two on the day for the Caribbean, as 29-year-old Barbadian Shane Brathwaite won the men's sprint hurdles in a season's best 13.31 seconds, narrowly outleading American Freddie Crittenden third at the line. And finally, in horse racing, veteran Barbadian rider Patrick Husbands produced a confident gate-to-wire effort aboard 5-1 choice Mr. Ritz to comfortably win the feature Grade 3 $125,000 Canadian Seagram Stakes at Woodbine on Sunday. Going a mile and 16 for the 3-year-olds and upwards, Husbands guided the Carroll-trained 4-year-old Bay Colt to the finish 1 1/4 lengths clear of the field in a time of 1 minute 42.75 seconds. Woodbine's Robert Geller has the call.
Special Forces, and Mr. Ritz has got the jump on Mr. Haverkamp early, has cut to the inside and leads the way. So it is Patrick Husbands and Mr. Ritz by about 2.5 to Mr. Haverkamp. 1.5 to Rose's Vision is third. Thor's Rocket on the inside of Are You Kidding Me? Then a break in the field of about 4 lengths. Next is Florida 1, followed by second last Revved Up, and last of all at this point Special Forces is 12 off the lead, and Mr. Ritz continues to etch along in front. Mr. Ritz by 5 lengths. Mr. Haverkamp in second, a half mile to run. 1 to Thor's Rocket, Rose's Vision. A half away, Are You Kidding Me? And behind them Florida 1, Revved Up, and Special Forces. Mr. Ritz has gone through a half in 48 and 2, leads by 4 lengths. Mr. Haverkamp is travelling easily, is 3.5 away, coming after this leader very swiftly. Mr. Haverkamp starts a nice move. It's Mr. Ritz 2 in front. Mr. Haverkamp second. Thor's Rocket on the inside. Are You Kidding Me is fourth, and running on his Special Forces, and now crunch time, the real running begins. Mr. Ritz in front, 2 lengths. Mr. Haverkamp in second is pushed for the first time, and Mr. Ritz dancing along, doing the Ritz in front. Thor's Rocket finishing on with Mr. Haverkamp and Special Forces, and Mr. Ritz, gate to wire, wins the Seagram Cup, 1.25 Thor's Rocket. Special Forces on the outside with Mr. Haverkamp next, and then came Are You Kidding Me?
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Join global, regional, and local financial technology experts at the 3rd Annual Central Bank Meets Blockchain Conference, Beyond Borders. Last year's conference was a sold-out event. This year's speakers will present on the role of central bank digital currencies in digital transformation within developing nations. Join us at the 3rd Annual Central Bank Meets Blockchain Conference, Beyond Borders, September 10th, Hilton Barbados Resort.
And that's Caribbean Newsline. Thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.